Story 1. Room 108. In January 2025, a truck driver named Cole was passing through rural Nevada when he stopped at a roadside motel off Highway 93. The place looked old, peeling paint, flickering neon sign, and a front desk that smelled like cigarette smoke and bleach. The clerk, an elderly man with fogged glasses, handed him the key to room 108. It was the last one on the right, near the dumpster. Inside, the room was what you'd expect. Dated wallpaper, creaky bed, and a single buzzing light overhead. Cole showered, turned on the TV, and tried to sleep. But just as he began to drift off, he heard a soft knocking sound coming from the wall behind the bed. It was slow and deliberate, 3 knocks at a time. He thought maybe it was a pipe or someone next door, but when he leaned against the wall, the knocking stopped. He shrugged it off till his phone buzzed on the nightstand. There was no service in the area, yet a new notification appeared. A text from an unknown number. It said, "Don't knock back." Cole froze. He hadn't touched the wall. The knocks came again, this time from the closet door. He reached for the bedside lamp, but the bulb flickered and went out completely. The knocking grew faster, now sounding like fists pounding from inside the closet. He ran for the door, but it wouldn't open. The knob turned loosely in his hand, like it wasn't connected to anything. He banged on it until his shoulder ached, then turned back toward the closet, completely still now, the air heavy and cold. Slowly, the closet door creaked open on its own. When police arrived the next morning after the manager reported a noise complaint, they found the room empty. Cole's truck was still parked outside, keys in the ignition, wallet on the table. The closet door had deep gouges carved into the wood as if someone had clawed to get out. The motel shut down a week later. Locals say room 108 had been sealed for years before Cole arrived. Ever since a woman vanished there in 1998. Her body was never found, but guests who stayed nearby claimed they heard knocking every night at 3 a.m. Story 2, the key that didn't belong. During summer 2025, a couple named Ryan and Lila were driving cross-country from Texas to Oregon. Exhausted, they stopped at a cheap roadside motel somewhere in Idaho. The place was nearly empty, but the clerk gave them room 12 and mentioned almost absent-mindedly, "Don't use the key from the drawer." Inside the room, everything was normal at first: clean sheets, working TV, warm water. But as Ryan unpacked, he noticed a small wooden key lying inside the nightstand drawer. It wasn't a normal motel kit, looked handmade, carved from dark wood with a number 9 burned into it. He asked Lila if she thought it was some kind of decoration, but when he turned it over, he saw something scratched into the back. "Don't let her in," that night. Around midnight, they were woken by soft footsteps outside their door. Then came a gentle knock. They assumed it was someone from the front desk, maybe a confused guest. But when Ryan looked through the peephole, there was no one there, just darkness. Then another knock, this time from the adjoining wall. He checked outside. The hallway was empty, but when he turned around, he saw the drawer open, the wooden key gone. The knocking continued, now louder, moving from the door to the walls, then the window. Lila begged him to leave, but when he grabbed their bags, he froze. The number on the door had changed from 12 to 9. They ran outside and found the hallway looping endlessly. Each door marked 9. No matter which direction they went, they kept coming back to the same room. The lights flickered, and the smell of smoke filled the air. In a panic, they smashed a window and climbed out onto the parking lot. When they looked back, there was no room 9, just a blank stretch of wall. The next morning, when the police checked the motel, they found an old burned section behind the building where rooms 7 through 10 had once stood destroyed in a fire 20 years earlier. The wooden key was later found under the driver's seat of Ryan's car. They threw it in a lake on their way home, but even years later, Lila says she sometimes hears soft knocking in her dreams 3 times, followed by silence. Story 3. The Guest Who Checked In Twice. In 2025, a man named Daniel worked night shifts as a front desk clerk at a small motel in rural Pennsylvania. It was a quiet job. He mostly read books, checked in a few late travelers, and watched old cameras that barely worked. One rainy night in March, a woman in her 40s arrived around midnight. She looked nervous, her clothes wet, makeup running down her cheeks. She paid in cash and asked for the quietest room possible. Daniel gave her room 204. She thanked him and disappeared upstairs at 2:30 a.m. The phone rang from that same room. When Daniel answered, there was only heavy breathing and static. Then a faint whisper, "Someone's in here." He rushed upstairs, knocked, and called out her name. No answer. When he opened the door, the room was empty, bed made, lights off, no luggage. The key was sitting on the desk. He assumed she had left early, until an hour later when she walked in through the front door again, dripping wet, asking to check in. Daniel stared, speechless. She didn't seem to recognize him at all. He gave her the same key again, room 204. This time, he decided to watch the camera feed. She entered the room, closed the door, and turned off the lights. 10 minutes later, the camera went dark. When he checked in person, the room was empty again, but the TV was on, showing a live feed from the lobby camera. The next morning, the police came after a body was found in the woods behind the motel, a woman matching her description, dead for at least 3 days. Her ID matched the same name from the motel registry. Daniel quit his job the same day. The motel shut down that summer after multiple reports of guests hearing a woman crying in room 204. When the building was eventually demolished, workers found an old, waterlogged suitcase inside the walls filled with clothes, jewelry, and an untouched motel room key marked 204.